There are some people who should definitely not do a snorkel excursion in Bimini. Find out if you should or shouldn't try it. So the Bahamas has this beautiful turquoise, very clear water. We took a boat ride about an hour to our first snorkel spot, which was at the SS Sapona Shipwreck. It was a concrete ship designed by Henry Ford, meant to be used in World War I, but it wasn't finished in time. So the ship ended up being used to store oil for a little while, and then, it was during the era of Prohibition, a man bought the ship and towed it to Bimini with the idea of it storing alcohol and doing rum running to Florida from the Bahamas. However, it ran aground ashore here in Bimini, and then the owner thought he might make it into a nightclub for those in Florida who, again, are wanting to escape Prohibition or have a night out, but a hurricane destroyed the ship. The ship basically was split, and it was just left here, although the US government wasn't done using the ship since they used it for target practice around World War II. The cool thing for snorkelers is that you can actually swim right in here, go inside of the ship, check it all out, be careful of sharp edges, but it's pretty unique that you actually get to come in here and see this ship. Because you're navigating some narrow spots in here and you're surrounded by potentially sharp objects, you just have to feel confident in your swimming skills, and you don't necessarily have to have snorkeling experience, but just as long as you're comfortable in the water, then you should be okay swimming in here. There were some strong currents around, I'm going to show you, especially on the back side of the ship. So you do get pushed around a little bit, especially if you try to go back there. The nice thing is the water is pretty clear here in the Bahamas, so it's not murky water that you have to go through. You might see some fish here. We didn't see any sharks or any other large animals like that. Oh, there's some fish right there that you can see inside of the ship. And here we were making our way around to the back side of the ship. And this is where it gets a little bit harder, at least the day that we were there. So if you see, the waves are a little bit larger here. So it's just, you get pushed around a little bit more. So there was more fish here, some graffiti there that you can see. And then this was the hardest part of the snorkel, was dealing with the currents and the waves on this side of the ship. So the ship itself breaks up some of that wave energy. So when you're inside of it and on the other side of it, it's not as bad. So it was interesting just to see the different pieces of the ship that was here and what's been left over time since the 1920s. Then we got back in our boat, took about a 20 to 30 minute boat ride to get to our shark snorkeling spot. So the big question is, are you comfortable snorkeling with sharks? These were mostly black-tipped reef sharks, and they started out lower down in the water column. And this is our group getting in the water with the sharks. So there was a safety briefing before we started. You should not wear any jewelry that could sparkle in the water because it could look like fish scales. And you don't want to move around your fingers or your toes. Your toes shouldn't really be exposed because they'll be in your fins. But you want to try to keep a sleek profile and not flail around, because that attracts the attention of the sharks and thinks that you're a prey or maybe a damaged fish or a damaged animal that's easier for them to attack. This is not a snorkel that you want to take if you want to see a lot of color, coral, or anything like that. It's literally about the sharks at this stop. And you'll see the sharks have gotten higher up in the water column. So they said whoever's last on the boat is actually going to get the closest contact with the sharks. They shouldn't actually be touching you or anything like that, but they'll just be higher in the water column and closer to where you might be. So I was not the last person back on the boat, but look at how many sharks were already here. And they get higher in the water column because these boats feed the sharks after everyone is out of the water. So I don't really love this practice or this part of it. I understand why it might have started in the past, but it's not really great to be feeding wildlife just to have exposure to people. So I don't really love that part of the excursion. But it was interesting to see them fighting over the fish. So if you are totally against feeding wild animals, then you're going to want to skip this excursion. And if you are scared of sharks and you don't want to be that close to them, you might want to skip the excursion or just do the shipwreck snorkel and stay on the boat for the shark one, or find an excursion that just does the shipwreck. I hope that helps. Let me know if you want help with your next trip. Use the links below.